I'm Ashley Wagasback, feeding therapist, occupational therapist, and lactation consultant. Look forward to discussing all things feeding so that we can support you to bring your little one to their maximum potential so that feeding can be enjoyable for the entire family.
Are you looking for a community of other moms joining together to support their little one through the ups and downs of feeding and gross motor milestones? The Thriving Together community is just for you. Find us on social media at Instagram, Facebook, and www.sensorysolutionsTherapy.com to learn more. We look forward to seeing you.
Good day, everyone. This is Ashley Wagasback back with another episode of the Feeding Solutions podcast. I am so excited to have a special guest on with me today. Allie Amason is a health and resilience coach. She is a wellness educator and the founder of Restore to Rise Coaching. As a mom, she's passionate about helping women break free from chronic stress and survival mode. Hello, that is me. Drawing from a decade of experience in healthcare and wellness coaching, she is a nurse, coach board certified, and she has a lot of personal experience with chronic stress. And she teaches practical tools that help women regulate their nervous systems, build sustainable habits, and create lasting wellness. And her mission is to help women feel grounded, alive, energized, and fully present in every season and transition of life, including motherhood. So welcome. I am so excited to have you on. You are very much in alignment with what I hope to get out into a wider audience as we're supporting moms. Again, like I am supporting moms in those very early days with infant feeding, but those moms are the same ones that seem to kind of have these tendencies to continue to have stressors that follow them. So I've never had a coach that does what you do on. So I'm so excited. So welcome. And please go ahead and start sharing how you got into this and your mission and all of those things with us.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be
Absolutely.
here. And my hope is that just there's something that's valuable that a mom can take with her from this video right here that will really just help her have that sense of peace in the season that she's in. And so when it goes to kind of how I got into this, I like to say that I've lived about 9 lives. I've pursued several different things in the past. I actually started with pursuing OT in my undergrad and was an OT tech and also was an OT patient as I was navigating and recovering from trauma. And so started with that, but ended up switching over and became a certified child life specialist and then pivoted over to nursing. And in the midst of that, kind of on the side, coaching was always a part of my life. Wellness was always a part of my life. I pursued a couple different coaching certifications. And my initial certification stemmed from I was having a lot of health struggles and I wasn't finding the answers in the different doctor's offices I went to, testing done, blood work, all of that. And it was really defeating. And so I'm someone who's like, okay, I'm not taking, I don't know for an answer. Like I'm doing the research, I'm going to study. And I ended up through that coaching program, really learning how the body works, really learning how nutrition influences our body. I was able to solve those health issues. And so that was huge to me, just realizing what I didn't know and what I really needed to understand and shift in my life to actually navigate that well. And a lot of that background has also helped me as I have transitioned through different seasons that have shaken my identity in different ways, and especially stepping into motherhood and that postpartum season where, I mean, it's so beautiful. You're so grateful. You have all these blessings, but it is hard and it shakes so much of like who you thought you were, what you thought you were capable of. And so just really learning how to listen to my body through that and keep myself in this state of just regulation. And I'm not perfect. I'm not over here like I'm the most regulated person on the planet, but it takes that intentionality. And so that was kind of the biggest gap through my different coaching experiences and my own personal experience and healthcare experiences was there is this gap in really understanding how the nervous system works, how everyday stressors are really influencing us, how oftentimes we can get stuck, kind of like you're pressing a gas pedal and you kind of get stuck with that pressing the gas pedal and you don't know how
Mm,
to access the brake. And so over time, that just really wears on us. But we can communicate safety into our bodies. We can communicate, we can take back some of that control. Survival
mm,
mode isn't the only option. And so my mission is to not only help women to stop believing that motherhood or success or pouring deeply into the people around you or what you're really passionate about has to come at the expense of yourself, but also helping them create a life and reality that sustains that helps them continue to come back to those systems that are helping them keep what matters to them at the
mhm,
forefront and not defaulting to overwhelm or defaulting to survival mode, but actually living their life, having that vitality, having that sense of having that energy and that sense of just enjoyment for life. And so
mm,
often we
mhm.
think, this is a busy season, so I can't have that. And
Yes.
I'm trying to challenge that because I've lived it myself and I
Hmm.
get to watch people break free of that every day. And so I
Hmm.
do believe that there's a different way to live. And so someone who's looking for that, that's what my mission is.
That's so beautiful. Well, you hit on a couple of things about like you're constantly, we as moms, we're constantly pressing the pedal and we're accelerating. And then your mission, like part of your message is helping us to exhale, like learn how to exhale. And then you hit on the identity piece. And so it kind of struck me. So, how do you teach someone to exhale without
Yeah.
abandoning who they are? Because again, like I feel like we lose who we are. Like
Yeah.
life is in this fast pace. We lose who we are. So, how do you do that? Like, and we're overwhelmed. What
Yeah.
is like a practical look into what an overwhelmed mama can do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think women in general and men too, but I think women
Hmm.
specifically, and then especially when we step into motherhood, we are our nervous systems are constantly activated. We are anticipating needs, managing schedules, remembering everything, carrying this mental load. And
Hmm.
so exhaling really means letting go of that sense of perfection,
Hmm.
releasing those unrealistic expectations, creating room to breathe, creating the space to really align, process, figure out, what is serving you, what's not serving you in this season,
Hmm.
building those boundaries and actually doing them. um,
Hmm.
and asking and accepting help. And I think that's one that I see a lot of just difficulty because we think, if we have to ask for help or if we have to accept help, we're failing at something. We
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
incapable of something. And that is such a lie that our brains want to tell us. It's not that we're incapable of it. I mean, we see people every day, they're capable of it. They feel not great doing it, but like they're
Right.
capable of it. And so it's just allowing yourself to release what you're carrying because so often we're carrying more than what we were actually meant to carry. And also maybe we weren't meant to carry it alone. Maybe we weren't meant to carry it at
Hmm.
all. Maybe we weren't meant to carry it alone. And so really learning to exhale is accept like allowing yourself to step into
Yeah.
those
Hmm.
habits.
Yeah, for sure. And some of that comes with a lot of guilt as we're learning to do that.
Yes.
I know that is definitely
Yes.
rings true to me for sure. And so, like, how do you guide someone through that? Like, when you're
Yeah.
trying to take care of yourself, but everyone around you and gosh, like I just feel like I
Mm.
experienced that even this week where like my husband took the kids and did something that I normally would have done. And it felt like I had this extra space that I normally would have filled with caring for the kids. And I felt a little guilty. Like, what you mean? Like you can actually go sit down and read a book that you've been wanting to read?
Yes.
So,
Oh my
so
gosh.
that seems so crazy, but like how do you walk with someone through that and that feels
Oh,
that guilt?
yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is something that I resonated with so,
Mhm.
so deeply because I struggled so much with it postpartum, especially as like a brand new mom. Well, really, I've struggled with it before motherhood, but really when I became a mom, that's when I really, really started struggling with it. It was that guilt because it's a vicious cycle. It's like, you're immediately responsible for all of these different demands for this little tiny human. You get exhausted, you feel guilty because you're exhausted and you don't feel like you're showing up as your best self. So then you want to step away and rest, but then you're guilty because, well, I should be with the baby or I should be with my kids. And like you were saying, just like I can't step away. And so that guilt is so real. And I struggled with that. And one thing I just really had to keep reminding myself, and I love kind of what you have shared through your mission and just how rooted in faith you are, because I'm the same way. And so I get a lot of my just sense of peace and sense of direction and guidance through the word and through what
Mhm.
God is where God is leading me in my life. And
Mhm.
the biggest thing I have had to tell myself, and I've told myself this like over 100 times, especially in the past year, is that guilt is not God given. And
Yes.
there's a difference between guilt and conviction. And guilt
Mhm.
usually comes from people pleasing or the fear of disappointing someone else. And so I always like to pause and ask the question, what unrealistic standard or fear is your guilt stemming from for you? And I
Mhm.
think when you stop and you think about that question, I think that reveals a lot. And
Mhm.
so I really like to just make sure, am I feeling convicted of something? Like this is not aligned with who I am. This is not aligned with what God wants for me. Or am I just feeling guilty because I'm trying to please everyone around me and I've stopped trying to like listen to myself? And so that can be a huge just kind of mindset shift. And then what I really want people to understand is taking care of yourself is not selfish in any way, shape, or form. It's actually biblical and it is so
Yes.
necessary. I mean, you read the Bible and you see Jesus stepped away and he had to recharge
Yes.
and pray and reconnect. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
and he was God in the flesh, And
Exactly.
so you look at that, you read Corinthians 6 where they're talking about your body is a temple. And so like we are
Yes.
actually called to care for our bodies. And then the one that really sticks with me that I feel like I'm constantly, my mind is constantly going back to is simply the golden rule. Like love your
Mhm.
neighbor as yourself. And when you read that statement, it's already implying that you're taking care of yourself. It's already implying that you're loving
Yes.
yourself. And so when you can love yourself and you do these things that are caring for you and restoring you and bringing you back to who you were called to be, that's when you can really pour out and love those around you because you understand how to love because you've been creating a life that allows you to do that. And so, different ways I that I encourage people to just kind of pour back into themselves and not feel guilty about it, but really just kind of sets into their day is like you said, reading a book can be so helpful. Just kind of stepping away, getting your mind just immersed into a book and not consuming all of the external factors of the environment,
Mhm.
stepping
Mhm.
outside, journaling, praying,
Mhm.
just giving yourself the space to honor the gift and the purpose that God has placed on your life, because you've had one, and being able to give yourself the space to recharge is giving yourself the capacity to fully step into those gifts and that purpose that have been placed on you. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and I listened to something yesterday speaking about like what you were just talking about of like how you can lean into other people to help.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of times as moms, we don't want to do that because we feel like we can do it best. And so we do have like this level of perfectionism. And we know that that's not from the
Mm-hmm.
Lord either.
Yes.
And so the other like so I feel like speaking into what you were talking about of like giving other people the opportunity because they want to help and it allows them to fulfill
Mhm.
their role at grandma or dad, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Um, and but I've learned, and it was a great reminder that like other people around me can do things that I don't have to do that allows me not to completely burn myself out.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yes.
so like you truly are like caring for yourself when you are giving some of that, letting go some of the reins, allowing other
Mhm.
people around to support you and without burning yourself out. But the mom who is struggling with perfectionism and wants to, live a healthier life, her
Yeah.
environment, we talked about like reading a book and praying. Like, what are some other things that you would recommend for someone who like wants to try to just engross this way of life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say it every moment of the day. Progress over perfection,
Mm-hmm.
consistency over intensity. If wellness is overwhelming you,
Mm-hmm.
it's counterintuitive to what it's supposed to be doing. If you
So
are
true.
stressed about toxins, stressed about being stressed, you are just creating more stress and more toxins in your life. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. So
we
true.
are not, you do not need to be perfect in everything. If you are trying to live a healthier life, you can do that in steps. Like it does not have to be perfect. Our bodies are quite resilient. And so it is important to be intentional with some of the decisions that we're making, but we do not have to be
Mm-hmm.
perfect. I am
Yeah.
not perfect, but
Right.
I do try to have like different healthy habits that are going to help build that foundation. And so um when it comes to, I know the big talk these days is, well, there's so many toxins, like
Mm.
how do I create this non-toxic living? And it's my biggest thing is just focus on lowering your toxic load. Don't focus on protecting yourself from every single
Everything.
exposure.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
because you're going to get lost down a rabbit hole. And so just different ways that they can do that super simply is the number one, I feel like is the number one is hydration. Drink water
Mm-hmm.
because that is going to really help your kidneys filter
Yeah.
out any waste or toxins in your body. So if you don't do anything, just stay hydrated. That is really going to help your body function optimally, help every single
Mm-hmm.
system in your body feel supported. And I know that sounds super simple, but it is.
Yeah.
It's just to also supporting your air quality. So ventilation, whether that's air filters in your house or just opening
Okay.
your windows for like
Yeah.
10 to 15 minutes a day can be super
Yeah.
helpful. Even something as simple, and we are somewhat implementing this into my house, but it's hard because we have dogs and it's
Yeah.
just very messy. But taking your shoes off at the door can be really
Yes.
helpful to just reduce bringing in some of that outside toxins and just
Mm-hmm.
debris, and then everything that we are that's either getting absorbed in our skin or coming into our lungs and all of that.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
really just doing things like that. And then if you're looking for non-toxic swaps, just slowly swap, whether that's for something that is that you use on a daily basis that you're like,
Yeah.
let me find just a healthier swap for this. So,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's something you've run out of something and you need to go to the
Oh,
store and buy something else. Like, see
it's a
if
good
there's
idea.
another option out there
Yeah.
that is going to just lower that toxic load. So for me, some of the first initial swaps that I made was my skincare, because when I first got pregnant and then when I was postpartum and a nursing mama, I was like, okay, I all of my skincare says that it's not recommended for pregnant moms or for nursing moms. Like, what do I do? Because your body's absorbing 60% of what you're putting on it. And so
Sure.
I got super overwhelmed just looking at ingredient labels and figuring out what is healthy, what's not. And I learned about EWG verified. And so I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yeah.
basically the US regulates about 33 different toxins in their skincare.
Okay.
EWG verified regulates over 2,500 different
Oh,
toxins.
wow.
So when
Okay.
you can find skincare or other products that have an EWG verified label, it's a third
EWG.
party. So they're not affiliated with any specific company. They are
Okay.
just out there providing that information to people of, hey,
Okay.
we vetted this product
Nice.
and it meets our standards. So when you can
Nice.
find things that are EWG verified, that is huge because you know that, okay, this is free of 2,500 plus toxins in it, which
Wow.
is
That's
the
huge.
strictest of standards out there.
That's
So
huge.
finding things like that has been really helpful. So I switched my skincare to that, and it has given me so much peace of mind. And then things
Okay.
like I was a Celsius drinker, and
Hmm.
that's filled with fillers, that's filled with all of these other things that are actually creating that your body's having to work hard to digest, that it's not
Yes.
compatible with. So that's creating stress. So finding things that were actually serving my body better. And so now I use one that
Hmm.
also supports my gut, and that has really helped my body just feel better. And then
Hmm.
the other swap that's been really massive for me is switching my laundry detergent and our dish
Hmm.
detergents, because what you're
Hmm.
wearing is constantly, parts of that are
Yeah,
getting absorbed into your body. And so, thinking about
that's
things like
huge.
that, what are you using every day? What can you just slowly swap, and don't do it all
Hmm.
at once, but you can take it in phases of what makes sense
Hmm.
for you in your season. So,
Yeah, for sure. That's really, really good. Are
yeah.
there any other hidden stressors you would say that in our environment that moms may not be noticing that would be a huge help for stress load?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially postpartum, our nervous system is immediately attacked. We are immediately hit with
Hmm.
sleep
Hmm.
deprivation, nutrient depletions, hormone
Yeah.
shifts.
Yeah. So true.
Some studies have actually shown that our brains shift, and we're actually a lot more sensitive to protecting and to threats, which is good, because we want to be able
Hmm.
to be alert to our children. But what that means is that it's constantly scanning for threats. We're constantly waking up in the middle of the night. Are they still breathing? Are they okay? Or running after them. Oh my gosh, they're going to fall. Oh my gosh, they might
Hmm.
choke on this. Oh my gosh, they might get
Hmm.
into this. We are
Okay.
constantly carrying, we're nursing, we're recovering from the whole
Yeah.
experience. We are filled with worry and guilt and loneliness and pressure and expectations, and all of that
Mm.
is ramping up our nervous system. And so we kind of, the moment we, even starting in pregnancy, but especially that moment we hit postpartum, I feel like we are just slammed with, our nervous system gets activated and it just stays there. And so those are some of the hidden stressors, and some of the
Yeah.
things that people don't really realize, that's keeping the gas pedal down.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, we talked about some of the physical, and you hit on the emotional. We even talked about the spiritual. So all of that, the
Yeah.
wellness of all of that, how does it
Mm,
connect together for the woman who is trying to just be the best she can be?
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's all connected. You
Mm,
think about, women, so many moms are underfed, they're sleep deprived, they're
so
overstimulated,
true.
they are
So
constantly
true.
interrupted in their day.
Yes,
And
my
then they wonder,
goodness.
why am I so anxious? And it's because it is all connected. The body is keeping the score even before we even realize we're overwhelmed.
So
And
true.
so it's the food that we're eating, how
Mm.
often are we moving, what type of movement are we doing? um Even to get more specific in the movement, like if you're already in a stress response, then are you having yourself go for a really long run, or are you doing this really
Yeah,
intense physical activity? I
true.
mean, that's still, there's pros and cons to that, but that's still elevating your stress response. And then
Yes.
your relationships, what are you believing? What
Hmm.
thoughts, what affirmations are you telling yourself? And what does your nervous system look like? And so it's all connected, and it's all just kind of influencing one another, and it can go heightened or it can go lower. And I like to help people learn how to control to create that balance.
Okay, so yeah, we talked about, I think we see this epidemic of the exhausted, overwhelmed, overstressed mama. So like what's something, because I know I got into the lie of like if I wasn't doing CrossFit, then I wasn't doing I was wasting my time doing physical activity. So, but I learned
Yeah.
now that like my
Yep.
cortisol levels were through the roof and I was already
Mhm.
stressed. So that's why I was gaining belly fat.
Yep.
So what's something like what's simple daily practices that the overwhelmed mama, what can she do that's going to help actually benefit her and not add to her
Yeah.
stress?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the number one way that we can communicate, so I won't get into the science too deep here, but
Mm-hmm.
we have our central nervous system and our autonomic nervous system. Our autonomic nervous system is that fight or flight, rest and
Mm-hmm.
restore responses. And we cannot control that. That's our subconscious that
Mm-hmm.
controls that. But the only way that we can really communicate with that is through our breath. And so if we're really stressed, our breath gets really shallow, really quick, and that's communicating
Yes.
to our nervous system that we're unsafe and we are stressed out. We need to keep producing that cortisol. We need to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
If we're slowing that breath through that diaphragmatic breathing, it is communicating safety. And it's telling our nervous system, hey, we're not in danger. We're okay. We can rest here. So any sort of kind of breathing techniques that are really going to start in your belly. So really like putting your hand on your belly, breathing in through your nose and really helping to root the breath down in your diaphragm, not in your chest, but just down in your
Yeah.
diaphragm,
Mm-hmm.
breathing deeply, and then
Mm-hmm.
exhaling through your mouth. And some people like to do the box breathing where you're breathing in for
Yes.
4, holding
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
4, exhaling for 4, and then holding for 4 and doing that. So even if you can train yourself to do those kinds of breaths all throughout the day, whether
Yeah.
you're in an overwhelmed state or even just if you have a moment to just breathe, you're training your body to breathe that way, and it's going to help you regulate ongoing as well. And so without
Yeah.
having to take those intentional moments. So that's the number one way that you can really just help yourself regulate
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of a busy day. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is huge and yoga are huge too, because they're really going to help you refocus on your breath. So when you need that movement, when you need that guidance and really helping your support, those are really good options. I was definitely the person who fell asleep during meditations. And I was like, how do people do this? But the more practice, the more it was really just helping me start to listen to my body. And now it's something
Mm-hmm.
that's a part of my daily practice that I absolutely
Nice.
love. So just stick with it. If you're someone who's like,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot like stay awake while meditating, that is totally fine, but
Fine. Yeah.
just give yourself time, start small and work your way up, but it can really be
Mm-hmm.
helpful with listening to yourself. Sitting in prayer, practicing gratitude is
Yes.
huge. Walking, putting your feet on the ground, on the earth, bare feet in the
Yes.
grass can be so grounding, so rooting, and also helps you get antioxidants into your body as well. And so
Nice.
journaling, noticing your senses, pausing and just noticing what you're feeling, you're hearing, you're
Mm-hmm.
tasting, you're seeing all of those different senses. And then from a kind of fuel perspective, having protein before caffeine, that's really going to help balance your
Okay.
hormones and your blood sugar so that
Okay.
your energy is not super high and then crashing, but it's
Crashing.
actually allowing you to stay
Mm-hmm.
regulated, stay rooted throughout your day.
That's
So,
a good idea.
yeah,
That's a really good idea. Yeah. I mean, I like to do intermittent fasting, and I often will forget the protein before caffeine.
yeah,
I have recently started putting collagen in my coffee. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's doing anything, but it makes me feel like I'm not
yeah.
strictly doing caffeine, but
Yes. Yeah. Some
it's
collagens
something.
do have the protein, doing protein and
Yeah,
yeah.
well, and I'll make sure that mine does.
Yeah.
So okay, so you said you've had lots of practice with meditation and that's
Mhm.
helping restore your body, but
Yeah.
for someone who's new to this and has all the guilt and thinks it's impossible to do any little thing,
Yeah.
like what do you like give us a definition of what you think of what is restoration like in its
Yeah.
fullest sense, and what a mom can do when she feels like that's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so for a definition, I would say restoration does not mean that you're escaping what you're currently in,
Hmm.
but it's learning to give yourself the capacity to live the life that you're living. And
Okay.
so
Like that.
it's rest does not always equal sleep. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Allowing yourself to truly restore creating those boundaries and like really, really reconnecting with what's mattering to you, what is serving you in this season, what's not, and then creating boundaries around those things that are not serving you this season and maintaining those. So those don't have to be the boundaries you keep for the rest of your life, but in that season, that can be really restoring because it's going to give you that opportunity to slow down and be more intentional with where you're placing your energy, where you're placing
Mm-hmm.
your priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Things like saying no can be
Yeah.
really hard, but that can be so restorative because it is taking back that control and honoring your body and honoring what you need in that season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Things like asking for support can also be really restorative, reducing decision fatigue. So that could be something as simple
Ooh,
as putting out your clothes the night before so that the
yes.
next day you don't have to worry about that. Or maybe
That's a
it's
great idea.
prepping your food the night before, your breakfast the night
Mm-hmm.
before, so you don't have to wake up in the morning and be like, hey, what am I gonna make? Or okay, now I have to make time to do all of this. Like
So
cut
true.
that out. What can you do ahead of time so that you don't have to make the decisions? Because if you're starting your morning trying to make decisions, it's already heightening
Yeah,
your
so
life.
true.
Um, and then just
Mm-hmm.
learning how to communicate safety in real time. So
Mm-hmm.
really focusing
Mm.
on that when you're starting to feel overwhelmed, allowing yourself to pause and figure out, okay, how can I communicate safety? Let me think about my breath. Am I really like, is
Mm.
my breathing really quick right now? Am I breathing
Mm.
really shallow? Okay, let me take a few deep breaths real quick so that my body can just restore and relax a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like we are definitely living in survival mode for
Yes.
sure. So I think simply just going back to the breath. But again, like your whole mission, and again, like it's interwoven in all of that I do with the families that I work with, is trying to get them back in alignment, find peace.
Hmm.
So like what's something that you would support a woman to do that would support that mission of getting back, I mean, peace, alignment, safety. I mean, it's all like wrapped up together. It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think for the woman who's already experiencing burnout, already experiencing kind of that chronic stress, that overwhelmed state, we can often spend years and years just ignoring symptoms, ignoring what our
Hmm.
body is telling us.
Yeah.
Um, Exhaustion, hunger,
Right.
emotions, all those things
Yes.
to the
True.
point where our body just stops hearing what it's trying to communicate. And so
Yes.
we really need to retrain our bodies, and that takes time and it takes intention. So but the first thing we can really do to help our bodies retrain that, or retrain itself to hear what it's saying, is to just say, okay, what is my body telling me right now? If my body could talk to me, could say words, what is it
Hmm.
telling me? What is it telling me right
Yes.
now? And
Hmm.
pausing and really just reflecting and figuring out, okay, what is my body telling me right now? Another great way to really start learning your body and recognizing what is going on and kind of building awareness around what burnout and what overwhelm look like to you is when you're feeling that, when you feel like you're in this heightened stress or overwhelmed state, or you're really just burnt out, pausing and noticing, where are you carrying that? Are you
Hmm.
carrying that in your chest? Is your heart rate elevated? Is your breathing quickened? Or are you carrying that in your fists? Are your fists clenched? Is your jaw clenched? Really noticing where you're carrying that tension that's associated with that stress, and then helping to
Hmm.
really intentionally relax that part of the body. Some things that I'll lead some of my clients through is just a full body release. And so we
Hmm.
start head to toe and we just release each individual part. And so in the face, we'll relax the face, then we'll relax the shoulders, the arms, the hands. We'll focus on like our breathing and bringing that slow breath back in. Relaxing our chest all the way down to our toes, of just really, really just feeling that tension release. And we'll be
Hmm.
super intentional about releasing each individual part, not all at one time, but just each individual part, so we can really experience, what is our body carrying? What is it trying to tell us? So,
Right. Yeah, that's
yeah.
beautiful. I love that. So again, like this whole like getting back to truly being connected with our bodies, that takes a lot of work. I mean, I
Yeah.
can imagine. And so what encouragement do you give to women, to whoever's listening today who feels really disconnected because they're in overload, bombardment? What would you
Yeah.
say to them?
Yeah, I would say if you are feeling disconnected from yourself, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like
Mhm.
life shifted a lot more than you expected, whether it's your
Yeah.
first child or your fifth child, whatever, every
Mhm.
child changes the family dynamic. It changes, like they
Mhm.
have their own
Mhm.
temperament, their own needs,
Yeah,
and
so
so
true.
even if life shifted in ways that you didn't expect, if you are facing just different burdens that you weren't expecting, um, you're not failing and you are not lost. I think
Yeah.
so much of just that transition can bury us and
Yeah.
can just put a weight on us that puts us on the back burner. And
Mhm.
so, really learning to bring back out those values, what is mattering to you, what brings you joy, maybe processing some of the lessons the different experiences brought you. Um, when you are reconnecting with yourself, it's not going back to who you were before, but it's learning what is actually at your core, what is giving you that life, that sense of purpose, that sense of joy, and how can we bring that into this season? And so you're
Yeah.
not failing, you're just buried, and you can be rediscovered.
I love that. I love that. So like when you work one-on-one coaching,
Mhm.
I'm assuming, what other
Yep.
ways are people working with you, finding support?
Yeah. So I have my coaching program called the Regulated and Resilient Method. It's a 12-week program where we really
Okay.
talk about it has three phases. The first phase is all about regulation, the second phase is reconnection, and then the third phase is all about creating the systems that are going to support you beyond coaching, because I don't want you relying on
Mm,
coaching. I really want you to be able to grow and implement these things no matter what season you're in, because life
mm,
is going to keep changing. And so
yeah.
my goal is to create that sustainability. I also have a free group on Facebook
Okay.
that is called Regulated and Resilient. And so this is where I get to share a lot of resources. There's women in there from all different seasons of life. And so I really try to create value, really learn where they're coming from, what's supportive to them, what's worked, what hasn't, and provide
Mm,
education and value and resources around that. And so, and then I also just my DMs and my email is always open for people who want to talk more about regulation, restoration,
mhm.
or even just some of the swaps that I have found to be super
Okay.
transformative in my life, and figuring out where's a good spot for them to start
Perfect.
in a way that's transparent and trustworthy. So, yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So we can find you on your Facebook page. Where
Yes.
else can we find
Yep.
you?
Facebook and Instagram. Yep.
Okay.
Those are
Perfect.
my main social medias. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that information. And all of that will be in the show notes as well. So I am so grateful for this
Yes.
conversation. I've learned so much. I was taking notes as we were
Okay.
talking, and I can't wait to send families your way, moms your way.
Yeah.
And I already joined your Facebook page, and
Yes.
so I'm excited to get some more from what you've been doing. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for this talk. And I know it's going to be
Yes.
fruitful for so many people. So thank you for your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun. I look forward
Absolutely.
to
We'll talk
connecting more.
soon.
Yes,
Yes.
we will. Have a
Thank you
great
so
rest of your day.
much.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you found this episode on the feeding solutions helpful. If you would like more information, please follow Sensory Solutions on Facebook or Instagram, or you can always visit our website at www.sensorysolutionsTherapy.com. Thanks so much for joining today, and look forward to seeing you next time.